COT's base of operations is right here at thecouncilofTime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast. Anything COT does is by the main page here at thecouncilofTime.com. Good evening. Well, good morning to most of you. Most. Yes, we had a pretty big quake. Pretty big one. And there are tsunami warnings out. That there are. Do you guys know about that, the incident in New York? You guys know about that? Anybody know about that incident? Oh, somebody does. Okay, do me a favor. Do me a favor. If you know about that incident in New York, look up the person, right? Look up the person and look up, well, I'll put it this way. You can't make this up, okay? And I want you guys to understand this. The person's name, Islam is in it. In the name. 33 is an important fact. 33 is an important fact. And Patton is an important fact. They'll all come together. Why don't you look into it? Now, do you think you guys should know what that is? I really can't say anything else, but I'm insinuating something here, right? Now, the person's profile. The person had a mental illness. And that fits a profile of, well, you guys know it best. You know it best. We did have an earthquake. I saw you guys making comments during the talk. And I pointed some people back to yesterday's, day before yesterday, that message. Here's the sad part. Now, that was not from Intel. All right? It had nothing to do with Intel. So I made a comment yesterday on a foreshadowing event that would take place. And some may remember, some may not. And it was that somebody graciously found that. That was the 28th, I believe. It was dated the 28th at 1 hour and 11 minutes. Don't ask me how it just turned out to be that fact. 1 hour and 11 minutes. A foreshadowing. The foreshadowing, just to clarify, the foreshadowing event was due to man's inability to recognize humanity. Right? An example of what happens when God's grace is lifted. I hope somehow humanity very quickly can begin to recognize humanity. I hope they can remember to recognize humanity. Somebody says the archive from yesterday, on July 28th. July 28th at the 1 hour and 11 minute mark. That's where I made that comment. Also, I don't like to, I need to clarify something too. When I made that comment, I was already in a discussion with you guys, and it kind of popped out. Okay? It kind of popped out as a foreshadowing event. So it's not some sort of, that was by no means some scientific thing or anything like that. That had everything to do with an example of what happens when the Lord lifts his hands. Now, of course, people are going to have their interpretations. They will. I just trust what the Lord gives. That's all. And it does not make me some special individual. All right? That's not what the deal is. I'm used, as the Lord does with anybody who has a microphone. I'm used. And when I'm used like that, it's for an important reason. I do certainly hope that mankind would begin to consider mankind, because the problem is there is an inability for humanity to see humanity, right? If they don't, this is why I jumped on air. If they don't, the foreshadowing is there, but if they don't, the foundation is going to be lost. A landmass foundation is going to be lost. Now, this is going to sound outrageous. If the foundation of a landmass breaks away, 3/4 of whatever continent that happens in is going to be devastated. 3/4 of a continent will be devastated. One of the issues is we live in the end times. We live in a time when God has a calling upon his children. And there are too many events in the world that are attempting to usurp, right, the sincerity of that calling into a great many deceitful things. Now, also keep in mind, the Father said something. He said that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived, right, by means of the miracles done by these figures that will begin to come upon the face of the earth. It's a scary statement. The reason why, it gives you the mindset of humanity at that time, how quick people are to believe in, taking at face value what they hear in this case, because of miracles, because of power being demonstrated, people are going to follow. So I have to address this. If a person is moved, say, for example, a person said something prophetic and that prophetic thing came to pass, if you're moved by that, for the sake of that individual, you're in a very dangerous spot. If somebody told me something was going to happen, and it happened every single time they said it, I would always think about the Lord, not the individual so much, right? But in today's world, when somebody does something miraculous, the world is knocked off their feet. We know that. Even in the house of God, people lose their footing when things like that happen, right? The Lord is not going to have us vulnerable. It means that he's going to intercede. That's what it means. By his power, you're not going to be led astray. By his power, you're not going to be deceived. And since that is the case, there will be some corrective measures upon us, especially those who resist the voice of the Holy Ghost. God still loves you, right? But he must bring us all to an area of maturity. It's very difficult to do for one in the scope of one generation. Very difficult to do. So I hope that all of you, right, all of you realize that there's going to be some very tricky things that come out. Very prominent things from figures who would seek to end your relationship with Christ. It's up to you to keep it. I'm praying I'm in your corner. I'm praying for you guys that no one fall prey to this, but it's up to the individual. It's up to you guys, right? It's up to you, each and every individual. So please do me a favor. Here at COT, if I happen to blurt out something and it comes to pass, try to redirect your full attention to Christ. Try and do that, okay? In other words, if a person said something and it came true, don't edify the person. Don't do that. Edify the Most High. Edify Christ. Thank God for your brother or your sister, but lift up the name of the Lord. the individual of whom the message came through. Do that. Do that here in this house, that our focus will always be upon the Lord. Okay? We have a job to do. We have a big-time job to do. Each and every one of us is going to have some sort of responsibility for the sake of somebody else. So we have a job to do. And I hope that all of us can take that serious. Something else the Father said he would do. He said it would shorten the time. He said if those days had not been shortened, no flesh would have been saved. Right? Isn't that what he said? Didn't he also say he would, I'm paraphrasing, he would expedite these end times events? That means they would happen back to back to back. Please take note of that. Now back to the earthquake. Yes, it was a big one. And Russia, as I said with Pastor Paul's interview, Russia has some soul searching to do. They have to make some decisions. There are tsunami warnings going out too. I'm kind of watching the ocean disruptions. I'm really praying that they get it. I am. Because the next one will not be so kind. And although this earthquake, is somewhat devastating, and it's going to cause further damage, it is by no means close to what will unfold on this planet. It won't. It simply won't. Take note of that. Because it's always matched or connected with men. Now, as far as the days, the time being short, do you guys actually know? Has anybody been looking? Do you have an analog clock, first of all? And have you been observing something about the sun? Anybody? Have you observed something strange with the sun? Especially as of late, it's going to get worse and worse. Well, let me clue you in. Every year now, well, let me give you the cause first. Due to water being redirected, the axis of the earth has been tilting, right? But also something else is happening. The speed, the rotation of the earth is in fact speeding up. It is speeding up, folks. So that means if it continues, we're going to hit a moment of time where we're going to have a 6-hour day. The days will be cut in half. Sounds good. All right. Concerning the this earthquake, it was a doozy, but I know it ends. It's not quite done yet. It will end with an explosion. Not a volcanic eruption. No. An explosion dealing with water. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but all of it's a foreshadowing. It's a foreshadowing of what happens if the Lord would lift his grace and mercy from a place. It's the absence, right? It's got to be that's due to the absence of obedience, the absence of godly values, the absence of the Word of God. People are running amok. They are. They're doing all sorts of things, and they cannot seem to relent their own pride so they can see the truth. That will take all of us to get through an era like that. That will take all of us. Not just me, but all of us. To assist people, to help people comprehend what's happening. Because this time people are going to have problems with they're going to have problems with the place it happens in regardless. But if they don't get it right, another foreshadowing will take place. As for you guys, have an understanding that your whole life is being held together by God's grace and His mercy. Without His grace, without His mercy, we would never have room to repent. We wouldn't. Life would be very different. Very different. For example, there are children born. Well, let's just say they are, how old are they now? They're about 6 or 7, right? These kids that are being born have they have this aptitude for seeing things the way they are supposed to be. They are actively seeking these children out. And again, these kids have, on their left hand, many of them probably have. All right, stand by, folks. Let me process this real quick so I can, hold on. These alarms are going off. This is ridiculous. Just too many alarms. One's a solar alarm. You guys stand by. Well, okay, that's that, but let me go back to this. Boy, that's a big one, isn't it? It's a big alarm. I'll have to explain to you guys how the solar alarm works. Back to you guys, back to understanding, to make this short, understand that our lives are being held together by grace and mercy, and without that grace, if the Father lifts His hands, it's a done deal. We're done for. You do live in the time where the restrainers no longer be He who letteth is going to be taken out of the way. It's about to be, and when they are taken out of the way, then you're going to know what darkness is. Then you will see the negative tongue being prospered in the earth. In other words, those who are highly immoral, they will be rewarded in the earth. They will be. The power being utilized, or let's just say the ingenuity and the power of the resources being put into what's coming, concerning the beast system and all these other things. We're going to need God's grace and mercy during that time. We're going to need it immediately. Many people need it out there in the world, right? So, but it's our choice to stay there or not. To be in the shadow of the Most High is to be as obedient as you possibly could. But obedience, not because it's a rule. Obedience because it's part of your standard. Does that make sense to everybody? Because a lot of people obey simply because it's written, and they think that is sufficient. That's not sufficient. It's not. Obey the Lord from your heart to Him because you love Him. Learn about Him. Learn to see Him. Develop that relationship, right? If the world could, it would have you be an instrument of destruction for just about everybody, and time is too short. The Earth's rotation is speeding up big time. I mean, it is speeding up. You're looking at a 600-kilometer difference every few months. That's a lot. So some things are not right, but we can be right? There's an assault on your spirit. You can still be right. Take that desire the Lord put within you. Let that desire be amplified. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? Anybody? Also, I'm going to tell you guys something. Because I've been up so long, right? I already know I have to file a few things in about, what time is it now? In about a couple of hours. If I'm going to get everything on time, I'm going to have to file a few things. That's going to take some copying. So this will be a short midnight hour. And I want to answer your questions also. So hopefully you understood everything I was saying before those alarms started going off, and they haven't stopped. But you guys do understand that grace lifted. When mercy and grace is lifted, that's when you realize, right? That's when a man will realize he has truly been kept. You guys see that? Also, the devil himself, he does not have free reign over your life. He does not. Right. All right, you guys get that? You guys hear me? Hear me okay? Everything is changing. The earth is speeding up big time. Days are going to be shorter. Can you guys imagine the sun rising at around 8 a.m. and then it begins to set at 1 p.m.? Could you guys imagine that? Listen, only for the sun to rise back again, right? Imagine it setting during the afternoon and rising again in the evening. That's twice per day. Imagine that. That's what's happening to the earth, and it's becoming an exponential event. It'll keep happening. It's going to keep happening. Not good. And now that we're having a even more shuffling of water and displacement of water, it will no doubt escalate what's happening in the earth. Be prepared for that, because these coastal cities are not going to last long, right? They won't. Many of these island nations they're not going to last long. Some of you are going to see bits and pieces of it. And you will. For the most part, though, many of the folks who are involved, video games and all these different subjects, if you take note of them, this new breed of people that's popping out with all these, their subject matter, they're leaning towards a worldly type standard, which is an effort to squeeze you out. The believer policies are continually changing to squeeze you out. Don't be afraid of that. We all knew that was going to happen, but the earth is going to respond in kind. As their iniquity grows, so will the sheer violence of geology and of the atmosphere take it'll take its toll on those who are alive. So don't envy that time for somebody else. You know, if somebody's left here, don't say to yourselves, how come the saints can't stay alive? You have to remember, you're done here when you transition. And transitioning is not some sad thing. Transitioning is what this whole life was about. You becoming true family with the living God by way of your principles, by way of your speech, every aspect of you. Every aspect. That's for the sake. Every aspect. All these things are changing rapidly. And the earth is going to respond. We're going to have much shorter days. You know what that will do to crops? Do you guys know? When when it starts heating up and then all of a sudden it abruptly goes, that's a lot of stress on foliage. And then to have it rise again, that's going to be, first of all, unbelievable to a lot of people. But as with most things, experts will pop out, right? They're going to tell you all about it. Kind of like this earthquake, right? Experts will tell you all about it. Oh, and I read an article. Let me see if I can pull this up, just to show you another example of how the world is. There was an article. I can't name that guy. No, better not. There was an article that obviously was repeated throughout many different networks. And listen to what they said. They said it is, this was day before yesterday, this was Monday. They said it is unlikely, and they're almost 100% certain, we will never have an earthquake above 8.0. That's what they said. Isn't that ironic? Strange. But that's where we live in. Questions. Who has a question for me? Anybody? Anybody have a question for me? Anybody? Hold on. Let me get you guys. Why are the days getting shorter? Water displacement is causing the rotation of the Earth to speed up. Here's how this works. At the rim of the planet, you have lots of water. Right? You're talking tonnage, probably, per so many square feet. Because of that water displacement, it's disrupting that center of inertia around the rim of the planet. They're making it heavy in certain parts and lighter in the other parts. It's kind of like shifting. If we were to shift half the ocean, somehow shift that into India, for example, that would be devastating for the rest of the Earth, because it would cause the Earth to be lopsided. It is scientific proof that we have been exponentially speeding up the rotation of the Earth. That will shorten the days, right? Shorten the days. You guys got that so far? What are the waters above and the waters beneath the firmament? Now, a lot of people, they go into the flat Earth thing. I do not. Here's why I don't go for the flat Earth. I've been way up there before. So with my own eyes, I saw some things. We also had an experiment, right? The flat Earth is not a new topic. It's an old one. We had an experiment, right? You know how people say, if we live on a round ball, why is it that you can see a boat go out on the water and continue to see that boat for a long, long, long time? And it sounds like a legitimate argument until you begin to explain what they're actually saying. Because how many people would have that same question? If we live on a ball, then evidently we should not be able to see a boat go just, hundreds of miles out, and then we still see it. That'd be impossible, right? Unless we lived on a flat plane of existence, right? That's one of their arguments. And as a side note, don't brush those people off, but be prepared to give an answer to everything you're faced with. Be prepared. All right. Let me give me a sip of this, guys. Hold on. Brother Mike, there's seven conferences coming soon. It's been a long, long time since you mentioned them. There's so many things coming that are out of pace with what most people are used to, that I don't even talk about those areas anymore. Things go back and forth more than you know. Let's see. Let me go back up. I missed you guys. How fast is the Earth tilting? A projection as to how many miles? I believe the Earth's tilt is happening this way. If you were to take a ball and put a rod in the center and spin it, right? And if you had that in an orientated position where it's straight and down, you got no problems with forces. As soon as you begin to tilt the thing, right? Let's see, it's full of gyroscopes glued to it. if they could somehow spin them, it'd be a lot of self-correction happening. You wouldn't stay on your back. You wouldn't. You in fact, most of these view things, by the way, the Earth is misrepresented. The way the Earth looks is misrepresented. The scale of the Earth and the crust is misrepresented. I have a 3D model of the Earth and its measurements. It'd blow you away. You really would. You would begin to see why magma is doing what it's doing, but horrifically, you would start to see the consequences we face by doing things in the Earth with little to no responsibility. 15 minutes on Hawaii picture, so well, hopefully Hawaii is spared and not too bad. Just a foreshadowing. But I'll tell you this, if men don't begin to see humanity, a much worse thing will come. Okay, let's see. There's a picture. Yeah, that picture would help you understand Earth a lot. We're so tiny on a big, huge ball. And just so you guys, you may not understand how the Earth works. Can I get nerdy for a moment? Just a minute. I'm going to get nerdy. Can I do that? The Earth works, right, is proposed to work partly by a type of fusion or fission. How's that work? There are two dominant radioactive components on the Earth, right? Uranium and thorium. Uranium and thorium, okay? Uranium has a half-life of 4.5 billion years. You guys have to fact check me on these things. Thorium has a half-life of, I think, 14 billion years, right? Radioactive elements like that constantly shoot out these neutrons, are shooting out all over the place. They cause deformations in other materials. For example, low concentration uranium and thorium, that's, of course, is a byproduct of the main element, often has altered the structure of everything around it. It can make it weaker, it can make it stronger. These neutrons and anti-neutrons, right? They measure these in detectors in underground array systems, and you're talking about thousands of feet down. They detect these particulates. They even have detectors you wear on your chest. And if too many of those free roaming elements go around, your uniform is going to pick that up, analyze it. You'll be separated from the rest of whomever you're with, but it won't compromise you. Right? These elements are abundant in the Earth. They're in the soils, they're in the rocks, they're everywhere. Now, when it's melted, it still maintains the same properties. It still shoots out neutrons. Those neutrons cause other elements to become unstable. Very unstable. Which is not a good thing. It works like a nuclear power plant. In a nuclear power plant, the neutrons are shooting out, right? And it generates heat as it's doing this. That heat boils water. The boiled water lets off steam. The steam runs a turbine, thus producing power. That's how it works. In this case, though, the Earth's rotation, the axis of the Earth, is a direct response from, you could say, an engine inside of Earth. And that little bitty slither of the continent that we occupy would fit on your fingernail if the scale of the Earth was as big as a 12-foot by 12-foot room. How do I know that? I printed out I'm sorry, 24 by 48 copy. I printed out 24 by 48 just to really visualize the scale. To see that scale, the Earth is massive. And that's where people like me come out. Okay. You guys sure you don't have anybody? Oh, just in Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is now what? Blasting warnings about potential tsunami. They're not handling this very well, are they? Not very well. What's going to happen when the other one hits? And by the way, you guys praying for Peru? Pray for Peru. Can you do that? Also pray for Haiti. All right. What is a moon thing? Go a little deeper on that one. Please, a little deeper. Somebody says, how long until the magnetosphere collapses? Just all you have to do is observe the news and people taking pictures of the skies, right? It'll go into a moment of chaos before it collapses. And it may collapse for a couple seconds. It may collapse for a couple days. It may collapse for, a couple weeks. We just unfortunately may be in that era where this happens. The sunlight, direct sunlight, amplified probably by LiDAR, has effectively chopped through some folks this time around. When I say chop through, I mean clean through some folks. It has really messed them up. That is the power of a laser. Before you get severely sympathetic, though, you don't know the background of these folks in which these things are happening. The Lord already told us who these demonic entities are after, and it's not you. Folks, they're going to be aftershocks. We all know that. I hope they can learn to put some things in position. Hawaii just had their emergency alert system updated. Yahoo failed. Again, they first failed in 2000. The other ones came along after that. More failures. How about Indonesia and Tonga? We all know that's going, right? We know that's going. And based on the earth and magma continuing to heat, it's only a matter of time before these ancient volcanoes blow their tops. It's only a matter of time. They're trying to make it seem like it's normal for volcanoes to explode like that. It's not normal. It's not normal. Italy is still they're in a lot of trouble. But have you noticed also with the Vatican, some of the backup systems being put in place for the Vatican, and it's for water, right? So they must have a hint. They must have a hint. I hope they do. I hope they take heed to some things. Also, folks, you live in a different time. Now, but most importantly, your spirit you're in the way. You're in the way. By dark forces, you're in the way. But they can't do anything directly to you unless you allow them to. Don't let them do anything directly to you. They will spin every single event to elicit a response from you. Please don't fall for that. Please don't fall for that. They'll do it, they're going to do it until they can't do that anymore. So please don't fall for that one. Don't fall for that. You're meant for so much here. These are the last days. You guys are empowered to go out into the world to represent the kingdom. This is your time. And the world's going to listen. Do you know why? Because they're going to have about 4 more foreshadowings. Each one will be worse and worse and worse. Okay, folks, before I take this long coffee break, anybody have any more questions of me? The ground is unstable. Continental drift is coming, right? It is coming. The dynamo within the Earth that is proposed, by the way, we don't need a dynamo with radioactive rock. We don't need that. Thorium and uranium is enough. Unfortunately, just for some history, do you guys know they used to start fire with these elements? Without striking anything, they would start fire. They would take the powder form of this stuff and pour it on a specific rock or something like that and simply rub. What they do, they rubbed something atop it very, slowly. And before you knew it, poof. Poof. But we know they had mercury-based safety containers. There's a pool with liquid mercury in it. We'll get to it. All right, given the fact that we have alarms are going off left and right, I'm going to have to mark these. We're starting to get active for some reason. Starting to get very active. Again, folks, that was a foreshadowing. That was. And if you go back to the 28th at 11:11, or 1 hour, 11 minutes, you'll see it from the 28th in the archives. But I'll tell you right now, if through this small act of man cannot recognize that humanity is here to take care of humanity, if they don't really get that, it's not going to look pretty. Won't look pretty. Somebody said there's another mention at 139. Well, 39 was in yesterday's talk. 139. I think I listened to that. I believe that was about dealing with preparations. I believe now. Don't quote me on that. I don't listen to my own archives. I can't do that. I don't see how anybody could, but I can't. All right, let me get to one more subject, everybody. I don't want to tie up all your night, but this earthquake in Russia, right? In Russia, it is quite revealing. Russia has a big problem, a big one. If they persist in doing things outside of grace and mercy, I don't know what to do with those things. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the comment about the archives. All right. Ready? You see? Yeah, no, just to clarify, listen. In yesterday, the 28th, at 1 hour and 11 minutes, I essentially said something would happen in the earth as a foreshadowing, because God will not always, he'll not always keep his hand of grace when people are willfully violent or willfully, going against him. And so that was a foreshadowing of what happens if he lifts his grace. And it was at 1 hour and 11 minutes. A foreshadowing of what happens when God lifts his hand of grace. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, same thing. Right? When God lifts his hand of grace, the place is doomed. And what that means is all this time you've been under his hand of grace. All this time. You have been under his hand of grace. Had his hand of grace not been upon your life, you would not have a life. Or even worse, you could be a condemned soul in this earth. You guys got that? There are too many alarms going off here. What in the world? Yeah, pray for Peru. And let's all pray it does not touch the Coast Coast plate. But I'll say this one. When Mexico, and this is by way of a dream, when Mexico, when their eruptions, when some of the dormant places begin to erupt again, it's only going to be a matter of days before the coast plate is lost in California starts to go up into the air, about 45 degrees. That's going to be followed by the waves crashing in to just about everything. The sun alarms. Yes, the sun alarms. These are it's a lot of data that comes from these alarms. Again, yesterday, or day before yesterday, that was purely from the Lord. And so I'll say it again. If humanity does not learn how to recognize humanity, a nation is going to lose its support pillar. If that is lost, if it gives way, 3/4 of that place will be disabled. It's a big number, 3/4. Very big number. All right, let me close this out, guys. I need not look at that anymore. I think I have that. So, we have some more alarms coming out. Yeah, we know that. Summary. Your spiritual preparedness and position with Christ is key to everything. Number 2, realize God's grace has been upon you from the beginning. We did not earn it. That's part of his love. If he didn't have his grace upon us, our situations would have overtaken us. That bad person in your life would have destroyed you, right? But that wasn't the case. So you've been shielded all this time. Stay within the shadow of the Almighty. How you do that is through obedience. Not forced obedience. Just obedience. All right. Anybody have any more questions of me? Anybody? Anybody? I want to hurry. These my screen is blanking out. It's leaving. Every time these alarm goes off, the data starts pouring up. It cuts you guys out. I can't see you. I've got you consolidated down to one screen. So it's like a pop-up happens. Florida might go in the water. Personally, I think that we're going to lose quite a bit. We will. But it doesn't mean it's going to be lost forever. It's not what it means. We're definitely going to have some problems. Definitely. Right? Somebody said, what happens first? Coast, or missiles? I don't know. I don't know which one will go for first out of those two. I do know that the people were distressed in California, that there was kids were very different in that dream than they were, I'll say, 10 years ago. Right? Very different. Either way, I think we're close. I really do. As in, very close. Very close. Anybody else? The place beneath Australia no one talks about. Is Australia going to spill into? Well, in the Bible it says this. There was a great earthquake, and hear this. It says, every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Not some of them, but every island. Right? And can you imagine an earthquake where everything is shaken up? Just one earth. That's either some strange technology that's not from us, or that would be us. And we, that would be a person who's zoning out. They are flattened in between mountain ranges. So hear me on this, folks. That means your confidence should be in Christ. I know some of you guys have relocated to the mountains thinking that's the safest place, but that's the problem. We're not thinking right. Suppose a geological event happens, which it will in America, and we lose an entire mountain range in less than a week, We're going to lose. That's actually going to happen within the USA. And when it does, there are going to be people who are they're just not going to know what to do at all. If for one moment we think that we have, we know these things so well, we need not look at anything else. The day we do that, the day is we're going to be caught off guard. We are. You're dealing with a spiritual component. You're dealing with geological components. You're dealing with heavenly components. Things are lining up just like they are in Revelation. Time, or the Earth's rotation, is speeding up, which means day and night could in the future, in the very near future, we could see day and night and morning and night again, all within the time period now that we have. Each generation is in more and more of a rush. Each one. And I know parents, it's a bit frustrating to see your kids always rushing into something, never taking time to do this or to do that, but that's simply the way the kids are. The only balance they can seek to have is the Word of God, and that's what you're here for. So you can never give up. If you're going to represent, then represent all the way. All the way. To the best of your ability. And things will be okay. That they will. All right, folks. Anybody else have anything for me tonight? Any questions you have? But I see some breaking off. So any time would be a good time. Folks, there are going to be some afters. Oh boy, let's see. And this, wait a minute, let me go back. That was a strange one. Let me go back. Hold on there, Paul. Let me see. Is this ship in space going to be like it was in 1500s? No, I don't think that had anything to do with ships. I don't. I think the 1500s had everything to do with what's underneath your feet. That's what I think. Don from Canada is the ship in space. Okay, I answered that one for you guys. How could Gabriel be withheld? They have their process team. So he was resisted by the Prince of Persia. All right, the Prince of Persia, back in those times, was not just a mere person either. It's not what it was. To sit in the seat of kingship, you had to meet certain qualifications. You had to be of a certain type person. All right, guys. You have my explanations and a caution. Remember, if man does not recognize humanity, it's going to cost humanity 3/4 of a continent. Tomorrow we have a lot to discuss. Civil war, all right? What's coming into your home, I believe in December. Whether you're ready for it or not, you're going to have a visitor in your home. That you will. Is the moon a prison? Is it a vault? Is more appropriate name. The moon is a funny thing up there, right? Craters only go so deep, no matter how wide they are. They never surpass a specific depth. There's only one way that can happen that I know of. I mean, unless somebody else knows of a different way. All right, folks, I'm going to see you all tomorrow before I fall over in this. I need to get these reports done. Or these filings, not reports, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to get some shut-eye. And then I have to be up at the crack of dawn. We know we're in a season of tumult. And the stone steps, as much as I do not want to admit that thing, it is still in play. Still in play. Be ready, be sober. Be of support to those around you. Continue in with Christ that you may be victorious. He will secure your victory. He's doing that. God bless and keep all of you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, Thursday, or later on today, Thursday. We'll have some more discussions. All right. God bless you guys. Oh, another alarm. Uh-oh. This time, it's in America. All right, you guys heard it. We have an alarm inside the heart of America. Boy. Folks, I'm going to see you guys a little later. I'm going to get somebody to interpret some of this with me as this data comes through. One of you guys will be doing that. Just America can do half of it. You do the rest. Somebody says, what's an alarm? Well, we have sensors. COT owns sensors, right? Since, 2001, maybe earlier. I got involved in putting sensors all throughout the earth, right? And all, sometimes sensors disappear, but for the sheer cheapness of the sensor, it's worthy to do. Now, all of them transmit. All these sensors, they transmit. When something happens on the earth, if the ground shakes, if pressure changes within the earth, because some of them are buried in dirt, and if the pressure changes, right, it's an indication of something. For example, a flood. If the soils on top are pressing down on this thing, right, and one of the vertical sensors starts to go off, then we know it has a lot of pressure at the top, sustained pressure. If it's just, one of a dozen configurations of sensors around this thing, each sensor, for example, the gas sensors and everything else, each sensor comes to a grand total of about 53 cents. So if you know how to design things on a circuit board, put your own components on that circuit board, and design amplifiers for those components so that you can actually read them, and then add a few logic gates and feed them into a interpreter, and then of course that goes into the Ethernet, and then that goes to something else. If you know how to do this from scratch, you can make some very cost-effective electronics that hardly cost anything. I believe each sensor pod does not go past $3 each one, right? So it's a small thing to put sensors in certain areas. It's a very small thing. But in fact, they are there, and they do their job. They report temperature, methane gas, oxygen levels, nitrogen levels, all sorts of gases. They detect them. Radon is one of the biggest ones. The radon alarm has been going off from a structure not too far from me, and every time they open up all the doors and windows, radon alarms go off, which means those people are being exposed to a type of radiation, and radiation is so bad because it can essentially liquefy your cells. It's bad. It's not good. Not good at all. We'll get into more of that tomorrow as we discuss, while I'm awake, some very important topics. Also, Wednesdays is a Q&A day too, so any questions you guys may have about anything, please make sure you have them written down. You can even write them, if you own a PC, write them in a Word document or a Notepad document, right? And then simply have a link beside it. And if you put that in the search text, it'll show the message, not the link, and it will actually go and find that link for you. Begin to connect data. Then we can discuss it that way. Questions will be done in the same fashion in the future, but not now. Just write your questions on paper. All right. I leave you guys with this. All this is happening for your victory. Even those of you who have loved ones who are in harm's way of this thing, it is happening for your victory. not for mine, for yours. Folks, I'm going to see you tomorrow right here at COT. God bless.